Hi friends and family, and welcome to today's video. Today I am going to be going over my birth plan. The OB that is delivering me will have a copy of this, as well as this one is folded, has the fold marks because it was already folded up and inside my hospital bag. I got this template off of a Facebook pregnancy group that I'm in. The group is geared towards natural unmedicated birth, and I really liked this template. I pulled up this and then Claudia's birth plan, like right beside it, on my computer, and I was able to like compare them, make sure I didn't forget anything from one to the other, and get this filled out really nicely. It is one page. That is one of my biggest suggestions. If you're going to make a birth plan, don't make a book. No one wants to read a book. No one has time to read a book. And it's just not necessary. Like, you don't need to explain why you want each thing done or don't want it done. I'm sure most of the time your doctor will make a specific appointment to go over your birth plan with you. And at that point, he may want to know why certain things, but that does not need to go on this list. These lists needs to be short, sweet, and to the point. Bullet points say why, what you want and what you don't want, and that's pretty much it. Mine does have a little tiny paragraph at the top here. It's just an overview of what kind of experience we're looking to have. But honestly, in the heat of things, if someone needed to refer to our birth plan, they wouldn't be reading that part anyways. They'd be looking for the correct section and trying to see what our plan was. So I'm just going to go over this real quick. So the top just says Maverick's birth plan, hospital birth. That's just how the template came. We're actually birthing at a birthing center, which is a little bit different than a hospital, but not by much. And then it just says our names and what we like to be called. And then the top little paragraph says, we're hoping for a natural vaginal childbirth without unnecessary intervention or the use of drugs. We've been practicing breathing and relaxation methods in order to prepare for delivery, in parentheses, hypnobirthing. Our biggest fear is that we will be pushed into a procedure that isn't absolutely necessary. This plan represents our preferences. However, we recognize that in the event of unforeseen difficulties, it may need to be renegotiated. Please discuss all options with us. We would like to have the opportunity to consider our decision without the presence of medical staff. We appreciate your support with our birth preferences. So again, that's just kind of an overview. Sorry, I'm trying to get comfortable, but I'm super uncomfortable all the time. That's just a brief little overview of what kind of experience we're looking to have in general. And like I said, if anyone needs to refer back to this, they're not going to be reading that again. And then the way this template was broken down is into 4 sections: active birth, birth and soon after birth / hospital stay, and then this last little one says cesarean. And then in there is the bullet points and the preferences that obviously correspond to each of those stages of labor and or your stay in the facility. So the first one here is active birth. The first bullet point is, I'd like the freedom to choose positions, use the shower or bath, and walk around in labor as desired. I would prefer not to have an IV unless it becomes medically necessary. And then in parentheses, I put, if this is not an induction. I do have an induction date scheduled for December 21st. I would love to go naturally a little bit before then to avoid the induction, but due to medical needs, I will need an induction a week before my due date. So obviously some of these things will only apply to if I'm being induced, and some of them only apply to if I'm not being induced. But either way, I needed to include all of my preferences. The next bullet point, I'm happy to have intermittent external fetal monitoring unless continuous monitoring is medically necessary. I absolutely 100% will not allow internal fetal monitoring. And I would prefer for it to be intermittent. If I need to be on it continuously like I did with Claudia, then I will, but it's really not comfortable to do that. Bullet point number 3, please don't offer drugs. I am aware of the options for pain relief and will ask for it if needed. And like this is kind of nice because the main point to this was please do not offer drugs. So that is in purple. Whether or not anyone reads what's after, who cares? But that is like the point. Do not offer drugs. Bullet point number 4, I wish to be free of time limits and not have my labor augmented / induced unless it's medically necessary. Again, that's only going to apply if I'm being induced or not. This is the exact same birthing center that I did have Claudia at. I was induced with Claudia, and it took 4 days for them to induce me for her to come. So I don't think I'll have an issue with that, but it's typically on a birth plan. It was on the template, so I just left it there, but I know that my hospital's not going to push me in any way, shape, or form if they didn't push me last time. And last time sorry, I got a phone call, so it cut out. Last time they were full. They actually kicked someone out to, like, induce me. Well, not kick someone out, but, like, they let them go home a little bit earlier than they might have otherwise, just so that I could have a room so that I could be induced. So I'm not really worried about them pushing any kind of time limits on me. Bullet point number 5. I'd only like an episiotomy if it is a genuine medical emergency. Please allow time for the perineum to stretch naturally. I'd like to discuss with my doctor during labor before deciding between an episiotomy or natural tear. I mean, if it was absolutely medically necessary and they said, like, if we cut a little, then the baby will be able to turn their head right, or, you know, baby's coming at an awkward angle or anything like that, and it was a medical emergency and I absolutely needed to, I would get an episiotomy, but I prefer not to. I tore naturally with Claudia, and I was completely fine with that. And then what is the word I'm looking for now? I don't know. Bullet number 6 says no to the use of forceps and or vacuum extraction. Sweet and simple, no, that's the answer. All right, so the next section is birth and soon after. Presuming baby and I are well, we'd like 1, to delay cord clamping and for Randy to be asked to cut the cord. He did cut Claudia's cord and we did delay the clamping. She was late on me and wiped off, and they did a couple other things before they even thought about the cord. 2, delivering the placenta spontaneously and naturally. I prefer to not have it, some doctors tend to like just force it out, tug it out, massage it out. I prefer for it to just happen more naturally. 3, to hold baby skin to skin, and then in bold it says immediately following birth. If possible, I would love to help pull him out and pull him onto me. That was not in my birth plan with Claudia, and I didn't do that with Claudia, and I kind of wish I did, and I really want to try this time if it happens to work out. Number 4, for baby to be given only breast milk, strictly no water or formula. Also, to promote breastfeeding, I would like my baby to not be offered a pacifier. We brought one to the hospital with Claudia, and we did end up using it a little bit, but I prefer for me to make that judgment call and not for the nurses to make that judgment call. And then number 5 says no Hep B shot is to be given, only vitamin K. I think that's a really big one. It is in, the no is in bold. We do not do the Hep B shot at birth, but we do the vitamin K. And then the next little section is after birth / hospital stay. Number 1, we do not want the baby to have a bath at the hospital at all. Typically they send in a nurse to help you give the baby their first bath, and I don't want that at all. I myself will probably wash his hair over the sink while he's swaddled If he has a lot of hair like Claudia did, because it gets really like gross, like blood and everything else gets like clumped in it, and it just, yeah. I might wash his hair myself. I brought my own products to use should I decide to do that. I don't need a nurse to help me with that, and I don't want to give him a bath at the hospital. And then number 2, we do not want baby to leave our room for any reason unless one of us is present. And then the last little blurb is cesarean. I think that every good birth plan does include a section about cesarean. You can't see the future, unfortunately. I would love to say that I've never had a cesarean, only because I would love to not have to recover from one. And I would love to do things naturally and to be able to have it be a little more personal and be able to bond with baby right away, whereas the cesarean doesn't always make that so easy to accomplish. But I think that every good birth plan includes a plan for cesarean, because you don't want to be thinking about or making those decisions when you're in an emergency type situation, which would be the only reason I would have a cesarean at this point. So I think it's important to include that. So we feel like a cesarean is a last resort option. If a cesarean becomes absolutely necessary, I'd like, number 1, for Randy to be with me at all times. And number 2, unless prevented by medical emergency, I would like my baby to be placed on my chest while you complete the procedure. I think one of the bullet points actually got deleted off of here, because there was a bullet point that said, I would like to be fully conscious during the procedure. And so, yeah, that's pretty much it for our birth plan. We are going for an unmedicated birth. And by unmedicated, I mean no to the use of painkillers, basically. Or, what is that word? Oh, epidural. I have not had my GBS test done yet, so I don't know if I will need antibiotics or not, but I still think I would still consider it a natural unmedicated birth, even if I had to have the antibiotics, because I feel like that's a completely separate, like, that's to make sure baby doesn't get sick. That's not to help me in any way with labor or delivery. It's really just a precaution that I will always take. So yeah, by unmedicated, I mean that I would like to do it naturally. I would like to do hypnobirthing. I would like to not use any kind of drugs to facilitate. I would love to not use Pitocin, and I would love to not have an epidural, basically. Even if I had to use a little bit of Pitocin to get things going, my doctor and I did already discuss that once it's going, we would be able to then turn it down or turn it off completely once my body takes over, if this is going to be an induction. So hopefully everything goes as planned, but of course there is no guarantees when it comes to birth, and baby's health and baby's safe arrival and a little bit of my health are the most important things to this process happening, and anything can change in a split second. I'm well aware of that, but we did have a vaginal delivery with Claudia, and I'm really hoping to do the same this time. I would love to hear what some of your guys' birth plans include. Everyone kind of does things a little bit differently or sets it up a little differently, which is why I really liked this particular template. So I would love to hear what you guys are doing or not doing, or your opinions on some of these things. And I will talk to you guys in my next video. Bye.